It's for another form of Kwaba, Better News TV. So you best also so when subscribe to Better News TV. Best also be subscribe. No one like, no one share, no one turn on notification bell. So by update BI by na on sabit me aka. And I make Kyle say comment section once you are there. Best also be leave you comments na BB akoso ano wano. Na ensem be na ekoso afi ahyase abia. Ene ensene ene ohaw ne amane a aban we mu mpanyimfo de ma nipa. Now, like as a defense minister, soldiers for you now on our down. With me, bio and no cassa and some way, dear. And it's all my yenye safe under the people under the government of Akufo-Addo. The people of Ghanaians or the Ghanaians, the citizen, yenye safe. Now, sir, defense minister Dominic Intiwell no. Dominic Nittiwell ɛde nsɛm bi ato dwa a threaten ɔman Ghana or threaten NDC foɔ na sɛ ansɛm wei yɛ nsɛm a obi a woda soldiers for ano a defense minister ebien na no kasa asɛm wei a that means there's going to be like there won't be any peace coming 2024 year election yɛ a yɛbɛba so yi na mene Akufo-Addo anaasɛ Akufo-Addo nsɛm wei a wate no ɛwɔ sɛ papa no ɛde ne nnwumadie anaasɛ edwuma a ɔredie biara to hɔ with immediate effect because or the necessary accoutrement a ɔde bɛdi saa bɔne no and sɛ papa wei Akufo-Addo tumi tena hɔ na sɛ wantumi anka nsɛm wei ho hwee na ɔhwɛ ne haama saa nsɛm wei ɛnyɛ sidie a na ɛsɛ ɔno nso so ɔwɔ hɔ mmeyɛnkotie nsɛm ne ntrɛne a ɛyɛ defense minister ɛde to dwa yɛwura Dominic Nittiwell ɛde to dwa mmeyɛnkotie mmra
Akufo-Addo ehun nsɛm no san ɛna esitie chairman general ne nsɛm ɔde to dwa no saa bere Ghana ha baabiara no ehun nkɔmɔ ɛna Ghanafoɔ nyinaa edie defense minister honorable Dominic Nittiwell ya ɔyɛ bimbilani ɛde hyia in the northern region of the Republic of Ghana ɔde nsɛm bi ato dwa na nsɛm no ano ɛhyɛ papa obi a wɔno ɛna defense minister Ghana yɛ na sojafoɔ yɛ asraafoɔ no nyinaa no wɔno ɛne obi a yɛyi ne sɛ ɔnyɛ sector minister very strategic position na oktie sɛbe nsɛmfo bi papa no aka woyɛ mbɛhyɛw na minim sɛ office of the president Nana Akufo-Addo atedi a anim yɛ a wɔso mo call for his resignation papa no ɔde n'adwuma ɛto wɔ san sɛ wɔyɛ obi a wɔyɛ threat to our democracy. We are threat to our democracy going into the 2024 elections. So papa your friend said Dominic Nittiwell and some what they are to that one constituency captured on video any BBM so and some no Nana Akufo-Addo and Tia yeah catcher Nana Akufo-Addo say ni manimu ya no papa no omani for the juma enya and to us say we are threat to our democracy. Dominic Nittiwell now your defense minister no we are threat to our democracy and some of they are to be nsɛm no hu tia wo yamba hyew ni nyina no me de batu dwa na Ghanafoɔ nyina atimi hu sansa me de metumra na ma kyerɛsie na mom kay serious country bi pa de a ka papa no ka asɛm yɛ ɔkaayɛ no 30 minutes kura ɛma o ma panyin ba friend sɛ fa wadwuma ɛto hɔ anasa ka sabri ameka sɛ nka wo wasia de headquarters a nka abɔ na dongo na answer questions na so no ya wo ma panyin ɔno no sabe enema ɛnyɛ papa nipakum si ato aba na nipa wɔtwe ewo ya ebesi nei o mampanyin timi fa yakɔ sɛm kwan fa mabusua no saa mampanyin no ɛda so ɛtewa no ɔpre sɛ saa nipa wɔtwe ewu ye nyina ho hia ne mom no obi fa telephone no ɔfa ne congratulating ne dia na kyɛ sɛ yɛte time bomb so pa ɛwɔ ma we ma bra ye abato afi saa nsɛm wei ɛnyɛ nsɛm a obi a ɔyɛ defense minister yasrafoɔ nyina sojafoɔ nyina hyɛ n'ase no ogyina abɔnten a ɔka sɛbe mpra biasa nsɛm a nyansa nyɛ dai enim ne nyina yɛ nsɛm a yade ebra wo sai ewo NDC national headquarters ewo adabraka na se wani ensase ka kire wo abra papa ye fa ne sa Johnson na se do kete o national chairman edema NDC amanyoku no wo de nsem bebre atudwa na nsem a oka ni nyina no na ni nyina efa eye Nana Akufo-Addo nsem a wo de ababa tudwa sa wo twen se enu apepepe ene eye afia eja electoral commission declare say wo no ene obi odi kunim e 2020 abato a ekɔso no na eno ena His Excellency John Dramani Mahama ekwa ka kyerɛ sɛ ɔpaako na ne ne ayen responde Nana Akufo-Addo say Nana Akufo-Addo nya ade sɛ obenya John Mahama na tension da da bi a yɛduru no mama muo fo kanka tantane be yima senkyɛn na de ɛyɛ nyamesura mamuo amamuo puntuo de abrɛ ɛyɛ the good people of this country na ensɛm no ama His Excellency John Dramani Mahama Babonten bɛka sɛ na nipa ma akoma wɔtwe wo ko wo no abatuo mu nipa ma akoma wɔtwe ne wuye wo na ɔyɛ Ghana mampanyin wo mu wuye no tumi fa ya akwasɛm bia ɛma abusua no na nipa wɔtwe yɛto aba enye ku ne ayɛ a nipa wɔtwe tumi wu ɛwɔ abatuo mu wokɔ Malia nipa sɛ ne wuye wokɔ Guinea nipa sɛ ne wuye Guinea fo yɛ ku obi anwu Mali fo yɛ ku obi anwu Burkina Faso fo yɛ ku obi anwu na so yɛ kwakɔto aba na de sɛ nye ku no ɔyɛ no nipa makoma wɔtwe and at the end of the day yɛ bɔ mu to pe ebi yɛ tachimansa ebi yɛ sabligo ebi ayo dododio ebi yɛ Ablekuma Central ne nyina esi wɔ Ghana ha ya boa wo ne wani ya gani ehu de ensɛm a esisi so ɛwɔ ɛyɛ ɔman Ghana mam ha na sɛ wani ensase yɛ ka kyerɛ wɔ na ne nyina mu no na Akufo Addo wayi nani nyade ofa hwe ho sanse hono de amemo na no so de amemo sa useless amemo ya no de ma ye sa akona mama say woni ne ho time kra no eno adjust na se du ketia be ma bagira ne na so na che se enya asem ketua wo se na yato aba manipa wotwe awu ansa na oba ba president ntidi na wo je free dwamama ho just na se du ketia.
We will not rest until we ensure every single Ghanaian is protected. The dastardly murder of 8 Ghanaians to make Akufo Addo president in 2020 must not be repeated in 2024. The blood of the murdered 8 shall remain a stain in the Akufo Addo Bawumia's second term record forever. Nana Addo must also take a cue from Mr. Mahama when he adds that it is unconscionable that 3 years after these tragic events, our President Nana Akufo Addo has not uttered even a word of sympathy to the bereaved families. Ladies and gentlemen, Nana Akufo Addo should rather be implementing the recommendations of the Commission of Inquiry, which he himself set up, that interrogated the actors and victims of the Ayawaso West Wogon by-election violence, and not be worried over congratulations from our flag bearer. We will not congratulate anybody who murders Ghanaians to secure power.
Fantastic one there from the national chairman of the NDC, Johnson Asidu Enketia. General SRDBS so can we say we are criminal at a near year before during the 2020 elections now. Electoral Commission also go to me ever said the best nipa bon for 22 to amanfo nyina no ye betumi achi wo no. Electoral Commission so yinani obi ate ya bibia ankoso. Johnson Asidu Enketia.
So instead of civil society faith-based organizations coming to our office to appeal with us to ensure peace, they should put their efforts on making sure that the indelible ink stays. The EC must not make life easy for criminals to exploit our electoral process. Moreover, without indelible ink, a pliant EC official can allow a voter to vote whether or not the person is on the register at a particular polling station. Let us keep in mind, and we shall never let go the fact that some printing houses the Electoral Commission engaged to print the ballot papers in 2020 were discovered to have printed at least 1 million extra ballot papers. Some were discovered at the premises of the printing houses. Others were discovered on the field. And the police, led the exercise of retrieving those on the field and supervise their destruction. Which other evidence is required for the prosecution of the actors in the printing houses and the people who were physically caught doing this? So, CSOs, leadership of faith-based organizations, traditional authorities, if a criminal is rewarded, how do you prevent crime? So we still have enough time for the criminals to be identified and dealt with, so that it will give assurance to the good citizens to realize that it pays to be a good citizen. And that is the surest way of ensuring that there is peace in this country.
Chairman of the NDC, Johnson Esiedonketi, live on TVXYZ and also on Power 97.9 FM. Yedi anichira eye Bimbila in the northern region of the Republic of Ghana. Na chese Bimbila constituency no eho eye baby a eye MP a wote akonya so eye Dominic Nitiwo. Dominic Nitiwo eye defense minister ewo oman Ghana memha. Yaka obi a woye defense ya na chese yasrafo ni nyina no ono ene obi a yede no ato ano se woye one sector eye minister. Ya chese asojafo womo niememu womo activities enu mu bibia no ono ene obi a chese yede no ato ano ya oda ano. Na ensema papa no edi atudwa no ensam no ano ehye. Ensam no ano ehye. And me and Mijina High as Mugabe, I'm calling on Nana Akufo-Addo. Say, Papa, your friend say a year Dominic Nitiwo. And the manimu ya woman for the Juma and your day and to her. It's just a lesson Nana Akufo-Addo. The air catcher wanna say, Papa, your friend say Dominic Nitiwo. One for the Juma and to her with immediate effect. Assembly and yet, why a threat to our democracy. Papa your friend say a Dominic Nitiwo no. Menyi nisa or wayere ewo ma wadwene wo mo ho. Menyi nisa or ebusuafo a wadwene wo mo ho. Menyi nisa or wado ewo tema edema the good people of this country. As a defense minister, so what to me jira simpie so na obi a won ne ko contest. This is MPP primaries. We are talking about MPP primaries. Obi a won ne ko contest. Na person nipa no kwa abefa forms na watumi aba contest primaries ni bi na wo send warning adiama no wo threaten nipa no se akwan a wode ne befo so no se wo ye mistake akwan a wode ne befo so no no eye test case e wo kwan a wode NDC befo so in 2024 da bia meka se Nyankopon aye som no we serve a living God ye sum nyame a wote ase Oba plani bibia ba Nyankopon no ba expose. Wo matrasi asese ne mabone ahead of 2024 and eniema wo mo asese the way they use the military, the government machinery, they are going to use more than that, they are going to do more than that, they will do worse things come 7 December 2024. But me catch Nitiwo say we serve a living God. Abraham nyame ayesom no no my Ghana will not die. Oh my Ghana, moja engu. Na samosha eye prophecies awodo a eba on the first night na. Ya catch you said the way enim no enema kwa munye. Na se yetie Duncan Williams some time back. And some wade tutu dwa about African countries. Ya hu de yesi o Mali, ya hu de yesi ewo eye Guinea, ya hu de yesi ewo Burkina Faso. Ni ewo defense minister, wonya platform no ogina so no okasa sebe wokanya asasem. Waka sema edi ohu ene ayam sheshia fear and panic Sa eyeme Mugabe na mekogina simpie so sei akoka asasem wei e platform bia so a kasabe kadampare abefa me dadaada. Kadampare abefa me dadaada. Papa na cause fear and panic. Ya wasa na na doma papa de friend Dominic Nitiwu within the juma to with immediate effect. Baby I want Ghana ye pasumdue ye peaceful nation. The Biauka Africa asema you travel outside the country, whether United States of America, Canada, United Kingdom, baby Bia over travel akono wo bogan dia wo bia wo buo sonko edema o my Ghana. Will not sit down for useless people like Dominic Nitiwu to destroy this country. Obaya Kwame Nkrumah Mochechiriya on the 6th of March 1957. Yeah, ji ya free a Britain for ensemble. Yent now a man Nitiwu and any MPP tax no almost say on my way. And some way and utumi wo say will be a woda a soldier for ano. Utumi ba bontre na utumi ba message a statement ha. Na dia na opasa wo kira Ghana. So will be a one in a contest no. Woman and one wo threaten no. So kwan ya wode ne ba foso no. Papa a better task case. I was the other by NDC. I was 7 December elections. What is the man still doing in his office? Nanado, call him to resign with immediate effect. Ghana for your petokwa. And Messi Omaseshe, Oma planning. And Dominic Nitiwu, and some Omaseshe are planning in ano. Yenimyama. What is happening in the military? We know everything. We don't sleep. Namutie enyema ekoso. More fire. And they will try to do all the things they want to do. But Mugabe's fire won't mean quench me fire. No, you can't stop me. You can't stop me. But me fire no, you can't stop the fire. It's just the beginning. The year 2024, today is the beginning. Yes. Why? As a country, who leader ne bekasa or kasa te say the atobom. Who sorry na say leader no na chiri wo mo di na chi no. You lead by an example. Who bekasa wo mo nyina kasa ye basa. Ade tokwasem etutrasem eno na nanado ne no kofo pe. Are we ready say yekowana? Are we going 2024 elections? Hey, one yeko. What Juma we ye no your achievement no and one about to abanama. Will be by your vice president from 7th January 2009. Will be by your vice president. No, a chairman of the economic management team. And your economists no question you. When the financial background will be out, but to me born on 1 day, am I to me a single digit for a running for several months in this country? You claim say we are Juma of Bank of Canada. Sikano wa haya yako baby anko boro. Na Juma hama ne ye mess no reckless borrowing. Mo kan sembebre. Today inflation is that saying. Inflation is that saying. And Sakarikacha want to be president in this country. If you Ghanaians are fools, will kick you out by using Kokromotie power. Let's listen to Dominic Nitiwu. More fire. Dominic Nitiwu. Some of the atuga. Me papa ba betra say. When monya for Dr. Kospio Gabraba. We money leaders say here omo. We mo ba be take position so my adwuma. Papa wa education obi ehun adwuma oboye. Wa communication obi asata ma wa communication minister. Na His Excellency John Dramani Mahama any deputy. Mo hu adwuma wa boye. And the telephone also ya wo kasa so a wa som ya wo de ni nyina no. E obi na start ye. We money leaders say every one mamo. We mo baba take key positions. No matter to niema ye within shortest possible time. Ye near the idea ya say kwot ya kwaso ahwe o. Sa so me hwe no. Ye nye sa mistake ni biem. Tried and tested. We have the men. Why Jumo trade and industry? We have the men. Why ambassador? We have the men. Look at the caliber of people are NDC. Level-headed. Kofa Napo Now the to education akwase ho. Now the do chuma kwato anu akwase. Be bia wo do mo beko bia no akwase be bia. Aden. Mo fire. Dominic Nitiwo. Defense Minister. Yetie some phone dia to da.
Suspend everything and get him to send the form back to Bimbila. Let him go and fill the form properly and ask him to contest the election. Sure. Then we will see how I will treat him in the constituency. I will use him to tell the NDC what I will do to them in 2024. I will use him to test what.
So he will use the man who is going to contest him. No? He will use him as was test case for NDC in 2024. This is a defense minister and Ekasano. Wait, defense minister and Ekasano. One no contest now more or slow where internal contest. What's slow? Why is the KT Hammond? One more per competition. And will be a no per competition. And then way, one will say, will be a pamuno. Man will say, I get a bonnier one with him no man a comasum. Was in the Panoco Philippines no from Robert Betuni Bimbila. Now obey you soon as a test case. The Obayano, the Obayano, a better test case. The Odebaya NDC in 2024 elections. We, and Yamanakayo, defense minister. Win him name on my plan with them. Yeah, win him. In the spiritual realm, win him name on Kofowe or Maya. It is not about who will win. They know the one who will win the 2024 elections. They know John Mahama is going to win. But Omobaya Nema. And what's your bumpire? The only weapon, ya war, I am paibo. Na go pour yam paibo tifo. Very well. Make us a baby.
Then you're gonna need Biaka says ya Ghana, a hunchla papa. Brunya ya wapa hui, mijis the Gofutis Utum Uzi Brunya ye. And she said, Yakade, you're gonna at least the last 2 years, as a before friend. Bankruptcy. But minimum differences.
I just say, oh, my no, yes, Casemni and BBI. Yes, oh, my name, Mancoye,
but oh, no, Yamancoye, no, easy and but bankruptcy, no, weather. But for Nagasa,
Casemni and
yes, Casem, ways in Kugo.
Fantastic.
Yes, Casem is in Kugo. On you there. Yeah, a banner. Often NPP abandon government. No? We can feel sika podo in the billions to the point that yentim yentua ye ka obio. Insina mbiribia we twem by 2002 over there Ghana or there ko IMF.
It be service debt.
Intum ntua ye ka. Nsi you there ko IMF finance minister na za Kenya obi atin there. We shall not go to the IMF. Going to IMF will be this, will be that, will be this, will be that. Under no circumstances shall we go to the IMF. You inquire IMF that, and they are not China. It says you inquire IMF either today or tomorrow. Yeah, finance minister Nasama Kenyan. That says you him.
We are there.
Yeah, you see, I work at the minister beyond resign before this program. Or defense minister.
Fantastic.
Now, some defense minister will be resigning. Finance minister, no, them all. Finance minister, you first person or resign.
Yeah, kind of for you.
For a resign the dad. Now, Yamin America. Nankasa MPs, NPP MPs or Parliament for more than almost a year. Now war period. They all resign.
Fantastic.
President catch on then. Oh, we resign mum. Now you mum one chenma on IMF and first
negotiations.
Okay, now yeah. Oh, we resign now one chenna. Oh, be easy. Na what na ma imbria was the one who wapa home. But instead will be anyman sikan was kashishi ma. Just Nancy Paul's investigation be for the bribery investigation be in Parliament. The one I know now what judges well, and see another project, but even in the finance ministry, you know, seminal. Sekebis kashishema wama MPs be went to my year as our pedoye. Because now MPs more than 90.
Businessman be.
Business maybe shisha or trade them man we pay in fuel. Why? Because if you are a businessman, also you are for some interest. If you don't, see, Ghana, the whole government has been sold to the highest bidder.
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
What's the defense minister? The statement you are making. Dear, no, free man.
Partner airborne Nancy, Sakria, and Metin, and I mean, my summer okay and sana, partner airborne, but them a wild commentary or chen. When you quite there, either there or prevent the competitor.
Yeah.
And now, Uchunihu or threatening, ma, untumon stand,
yeah,
and now or standard, assembly. Obviously, competition, or saying, that's a ball. Now, one of the players and now one of the coaches, Waba Stadium Makade, said them match will take place now. Opponents was a goal, so and so. I mean,
but what about threatening? Say a number test case, the other way end this.
Well,
I said, defense minister.
Say what try be? Say, I'm not president put no kind there. He say it's why a bibika crowd. Some time ago, President Ankasa, you create what a bibika crowd. You so I was so why a bibika crowd. Say, what shall obey bibi or a case? Them crack a crana wine.
Doc,
suspend everything and get him to send the form back to Bimbla. Let him go and fill the form properly and ask him to contest the election. Then we will see how I will treat him in the constituency. I will use him to tell the NDC what I will do to them in 2024. I will use him to test what I will do to the NDC.
Fantastic. And you heard voice people background say, we are in the Ghana Armed Forces.
Well, so what you know, Ghana Armed Forces, or you'll be in personal property. Ubitum was I, them, but my was it to Kofu, now, Kofu big one from Ghana. They are misleading themselves. Ghana Armed Forces is institutional. And Sana, well, Ghana, we created Ghana in 1957. My Gold Coast Armed Forces, by Ghana Armed Forces. Before that, they had West African Volunteer Force, Nazi. So the colonial system, so. But Ghana Armed Forces is an army that is highly respected around the world, especially because of United Nations peacekeeping. In Ghana, right where your Kofi Annan Training Center, Nazar, my Armed Forces College. It be called, Armed Forces Command. I mean, Nancy Akro, the funeral of General Smith, and the Smith on the Army Commander, or by a defense minister. That's how army officers have to behave themselves and speak. General Smith, as a defense minister, would never have said what Mr. Nitiwo is saying. Never. It's an embarrassment. It is a disgrace. And see, President of Ghana, Untum Kanche, defense minister there, on Rizana, Armed Forces for Nankasa, one country. There are enough courageous men and women in the armed forces, I hope and I believe, who should be able to rise up and tell their defense minister there, Mr. Minister, you have embarrassed the armed forces. Kindly allow us to operate with civility. Because we don't need armed forces as opponents of civilians. Armed forces are from us. Yamba, Yebushafuna, wash armed forces. Uniform can wash it. The same human being now, Malamata, and now say Kokomilimi, and now say Ufredua, and now say Kumasan. Oh, no, okay, uniform. Now I bear before. But say uniform, if you didn't say, now, new truth, any different person.
Fantastic.
We get you how to defend himself, and we get you how to fire the bullets. Now, also, you will be your cadet corps as students, and we also learned how to fire weapons and so forth. You see, on your Binuka can see when you things about weaponry. And like as university students in the 1970s, and I pray that university students should be given military training. At the time, General Kutu Achampo, Nobel Power, 1973, 72. You see, we were fighting for the youth in Ghana, especially students in the universities, to be taught what we used to call the instruments of violence. Because it's really an instrument of violence. But there are peaceful uses of weaponry and wrong uses of weaponry.
Fantastic.
And students wanted to learn how to use weapons. Because in so many countries, we are seeing when I was Gaza, a war, no, as they call it, Gaza war, between Israel and Hamas.
Yeah.
But there will be a Israeli citizen as a civilian, no, when you call military training for a certain period, maybe to call 1 year, maybe to call 2 years, maybe to call 3 years. I am soldier, but you're just being prepared for a day like this. That is what the students of Ghana wanted also to do, because we don't know whether one day we will have to be fighting to defend our country.
Yes.
And so almost all civilized countries have some form of military training for their young people
In
the schools and universities in particular.
Fantastic.
Like Germany, there's training for military. Like Switzerland in particular, all Swiss citizens have to go for military training, sometimes 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, before you become a banker or you become a musician or electrician. So you, at least you have that knowledge in your pocket. And then you come out. When you exercise patience. You know, but Africa now, the former governments are Waban. Actually, Achamo government they're trying at that time, and they were afraid of youth also competing with them in the knowledge of how to use these weapons, because they think that you have a monopoly over the instruments of violence.
Fantastic.
And such officers such as we are hearing, Mr. Nitiwo, are those who are encouraging this unfortunate attitude of potential military violence.
We say what's within a
Well, as I said, I haven't heard all that he said, but if, as you're saying, the part that we've heard, he's threatening a normal civilian opponent in a civil election, under the watch of the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission should be the one to give him a warning. They have the powers to warn him and to also, ask his party to discipline him. The military, where he is, can also, issue a statement, not necessarily, supporting him, but also bringing it to his attention. The code of conduct for officers, and he being the head of the military, should also be respectful of, because I don't know who he's going to use, unless he said he's going to use his own, tax, civilian, factions, the Delta forces, all those forces we had, which were supposed to have been banished, but we know they are there. They managed to get NDC to remove any, trappings of, vigilantism, but MPP kept their own vigilantes and put them in uniform. This is the problem we have in Ghana.
They use them during
they use them. I mean, they have processed them into the military, into the police, and into other security services. And that's the danger that lies ahead of us in 2024. Because many of them think they must be used. And some think that their promotions and their progress, because they're not qualified. Most of them are not qualified to wear the uniform they are wearing. So the only way they can ensure that will be better opportunities to serve.
Very well. Dr. Cosmo Gabriel and Yanni live on TVXYZ and also on Power 97.9 FM and all our affiliate stations across the country. And leadership we have and leadership we need. Leadership we have today and the leadership we need as a country. Doc, over to you.
Well, leadership we have, we have had some fantastic examples. In another country, we leader. There, America, now with them, and now with them. Ghana here, we've had fantastic leaders. And the most fantastic of them, I think, the whole world now recognizes. Because unfortunately, most of the time, you have to leave office for people to look at you and compare you to others. And to listen to those who were criticizing you. Other were terminal some one. Kwame Nkrumah was we are them, why them. Kwame Nkrumah only a dan grupo organa, only assassin grupo organa. Now the youth in particular should learn about these things because MPP was a school curriculum, but now was information on women to give them wrong information. You see, they don't even have some chapters in the curriculum in Ghana books are offer Kwame Nkrumah and the contribution he made to Ghana. So Kwame Nkrumah should be a textbook case over all secondary schools and the universities. Or they hear about Nkrumah and what he did for Ghana. And those who opposed him are those who are in power now because they've never really wanted Ghana's, success. But role model, a man who loved Africa and who sacrificed his life for the continent of Africa, those are the men and women that we think we can, be inspired by. Then we move through, even Achampong had a lot of good qualities in terms of operation. Feed yourself and, some of the infrastructure that they built for the military, for the universities, for the police, some of the infrastructure projects at Achampong start people, honestly, it be into and complete. But he meant well until certain things happened in the military itself, and then the military rose against him. So there was an internal revolt among the military. That was how 79 coup came about. So from the Champon era, then to Rawlings. Rawlings served Ghana very, very dutifully, and I had to leave my own job, being very well paid at African Development Bank, when I realized that there's a man called Rawlings in Ghana
as a banker,
trying to rescue our country, putting cocoa sacks on his back as an example to others. Even when I became a minister, others became ministers. We went into the gutter in Nima and other places to clean up as examples. But let's say, and people who are seminar, Rawlings saw them, why should Rawlings be in the gutter? Only mayor of the city, only, town council officers are. Well, he has them. But what we call leadership by example, and people want to say, leadership by example, once I say, a leader or a true, the between market Flagstaff House or Jubilee House or whatever name you want to call your headquarters, and fold your arms and be writing letters and signing agreements and flying in jets that cost $18,000 an hour per hour. And see, Bria Ukro Ghana, Orusu, Nankofu, 1 year Juman na Ebidumwa be fear for 3-4 years as university students, graduates, 1 year Juman now president, it's not plain ma
comfortable.
Yeah, apart from comfortable. Ne cow as airbo kawa magana. Is a Ghana for when Usa Ghana a debtor nation, an impoverished nation, a bankrupt nation. What share behavior of what is Yano? For the last 7 years, they were the ones by their very behavior what you call bankruptcy. Now on for no will be attaching millions of dollars. So that's a and the word how to make the I mean, how do you get that situation? I can't even end this for any role man. We cannot believe that such things are possible. You can't believe that it's possible. No, it's not possible. It's not possible. I mean, Rawlings, look, managed to dismiss 6 of his most senior officers just because of allegations by Kofi Kumsin of the Chronicle at that time and a few other media houses of misdeeds, or there was no specific charge of corruption against any of them. But Colonel Sewusu, Minister of Interior, Rawlings removed him in 95, 96. Mr. Ibrahim Adam, Minister of Agriculture, and later on Trade, Rawlings removed him because of allegations. Dr. Ato Kwasi was also road minister, removed. P.V. Obeng, the Prime Minister himself, had to resign under similar circumstances. P.V. Obeng, a man who had ruled Ghana as a Prime Minister literally de facto for about 15 years, had to resign from the NDC government. We're in civilian rule at that time. On your military government. Young people don't remember these things. That's what I'm helping to teach them.
Very important.
They resigned their offices to create the sense of cleanliness around the Rawlings administration. Otherwise, Rawlings may have had difficulty even in the 1996 election. I mean, not from the Mifi ambassadorial appointment at United States. Number 1, Wagana, Omam office next to him in the Usu Castle.
Wow.
So I had some very, very close dealings with President Rawlings, which many people are not aware. But he also gave me certain opportunities. At a time when there was a crisis in Ashanti Goldfields, and where the whole national interest was at stake. And the cabinet meeting was called, and I had the courage and the fortitude to make certain recommendations, very small recommendations, that you hear independent financial advisors. That was all I was making recommendation. But I was surprised that even more when you said one country, Rawlings said, "Oh, is this the only man who has the national interest at heart?" He told his then secretary, who told me, Them are running secretary, Ambassador Jimmy Misa. My friend, look at that. Running secretary, Ministry of Mines and Energy. Like I so Uncle Jimmy, Nanche, my Ministry of Education, on cherry. Na, most mo robo mozen or hana my ye as a boyfriend Ministry of Education. That time will be answer Ghana Education Trust Fund, get fund. Once in one some cry. One fan could be bia. Me no ye Juma Dr. Chambers no nazi. Ben Chambers was my deputy and we're working on the Ghana Education Trust Fund. No catch them then. I should go to me join the also man called Ministry of Mines and Energy. Just because I had said things at the cabinet meeting which meant that I was willing to defend the national interest. And that I put the national interest ahead of my personal interest.
Rollins.
And there's a man who asked me to resign an appointment who was earning $10,000 a month.
At that time?
A month. At that Development Bank. And to come and take $500 a month.
$10,000.
$10,000. How many Ghanaians will do that? I've done that. And it can be proven. $10,000 a month salary. Come and take $500 a month. I didn't know the salary of a minister at the time. So I just thought, it would be also okay. When I came, the equivalent was $500. And so the expectation by most people that you have to steal and do all kinds of things to make up for it. I didn't do that. When I left my position as a minister, having been a minister of communication, where, look, as a minister of communication, this radio station, there were hardly any radio stations in Ghana at the time.
No.
Hardly, and telecoms were limited to a few companies. I was the chairman of the National Communication Authority, first chairman. I made the first appointments in the National Communication Authority, NCA. I could have taken, as I often, licenses for radio stations and TV stations, or the frequencies, which is the main asset of a radio station. 99.7, 95.3, them frequencies. I could have taken about 10 or 20 or 30. Now I'm saying my
family and friends.
Family and friends. No, we could have done it, and nobody would have known. And since telecom values now, radio station values work or sure. Now man to the $5 million, $10 million, $7 million. Now it's a baby na enjoy. That is what people are expecting others to do in public office. But that's not what the public office is supposed to do. President Akasan Okache over there. My government, who want to make money, they should go to a private sector. Odama, is that what he did? Mr. Safuma, so-called senior minister, no, Social Security Senate and another organization.
Yeah.
They have permanent jobs there. We are not there. There are no jobs left in the public sector.
Asa.
Mr. Safuma, when the neighbors are you may win. Now there are no public jobs left. Meantime, now President Nagasa number more than 20. Neighbors are all over the place. See, I mean, as our MPP will show above everything else, only exposure after they leave office, which is going to happen. Because Nkrumah Utu Nkrumah Fihon, they were their CIA allies. That's MPP or UP government at the time, with their CIA allies from the United States. Ono Utu Nkrumah Fihon. And this is public information.
The public domain.
Public domain. What for one? Commission of Inquiry. Commission of Inquiry. What went wrong? What went wrong? No, it's a small boy, but I've been a young pioneer. And there's a young pioneer, 9, 10 years old. We had been told about citizenship, about nationalism, about, ethics, and the things out there to be able to have the capacity to resist temptations.
Capacity.
No, temptations, temptations all about Ubiana Quim. But as a minister, temptations all about $20 million, $50 million, $100 million. You sign all kinds of contracts. So when you are man 5%, man 3%, man. We didn't practice any of these things. We did not practice.
Then a kickback.
Whichever name you want to call it. We were trained by Kwame Nkrumah, first of all, that public service is not about what you can get for yourself. I want to up here stealing other people's ideas, including Akufo-Addo Nagasa, based on his presidential speeches at the inauguration and other since that time. Plagiarism. Before I can say plagiarism. If you will be now also a plagiarism. John Kennedy, no sorry, former president.
Yeah. United States of America.
Yes. What's it? Learn what you can do for your country and not what you can do for yourself. No, so a quotation, but my bony part was the assembly by Nizin. So I'm not plagiarizing because that's the whole point about academic work. ekafo bi na adwen na nyansa as nizin be shawo de obi na okan na mo so me quote and kada o waze the there shall be citizens and not spectators and so forth na ye azabu ekewia but it's okay now first there or plagiarism or ewia obi nyansa well that's one way which legal terms but ekewia obi nyansa na as ye wa nyansa that is how it's understood. It's academic work. In China, there are many officials, even member of parliament. I was okay, we are being answer. No, they were found him guilty. We're gonna hear. Even I think one of the Harvard University professors, Nancy, well, I apologize for apparently or reportedly using obedient works. One also Nijum. A whole Harvard University vice chancellor, a whole president of the university. But the leadership wants some all the way to Rawlings, and I can tell you so many more if we have time.
No.
Now, most recent incident of leadership in Africa, Henyan Tase, Kofi was obey New Africa, BB or Kwame Nkrumah, Black Independence Square.
Yeah.
So, well, maybe I'm talking Kwame Nkrumah Square, one friend, Independence Square, fine. I was a few minutes to the event and was it. As in, what pity, what about one? Because what's it would be no benefit from that event? Kwame Bidiako. No, wash a mask now. The billboards were around Ghana. I said the voice recently, well, press conference be away there. Yes, the crowd there, okay, program no. Now, freedom of speech was on Ghana. The Abazan issue, the Kwame Bidiako, if you're in easy now. He's not trying to overthrow any government. Ideas. That's how I understand it. And I said, we'll be a complainer. And I hear NDs are here by power next year. No, I'm be complain. MPP are if you do, and you go sick for. If you don't, they should not be worried about. Oh, yes. Now, when you Mungwasa, Ghana will be when you Mungwasi. They have embarrassed themselves, and they continue to embarrass themselves on a daily basis. And see, why are the opinion polls coming out worldwide, making it clear that next election or their NDC na yabado? But that doesn't mean that we should take things for granted.
Okay.
Because as long as the binum there need to know to work cage na bibi no work can some waha now what threat and kofo now what been there Porter region full they can box them in now Ashanti region into Nkoho they will be surprised. And so as the year game plans baba will be everywhere. As soon for so you tell me kakra
fantastic.
And so you tell me kakra the big kakra excel no as northern.
I need to be a defense minister.
He was there at the time, but there's a limit to what can be done. So you find people manipulating attempts at removing the IGP because they didn't say he's not, hard line enough pro MPP or whatever it is. Electoral Commission. Well, Peter was the one for sure. The judiciary will pack on all that will fail. And so there will be a change in government come 2024, 2025, 2024 election, 2025, January 7th, swearing in of President John Dramani Mahama. And the NDC, well, we've been working together for a long time in the difficulties. People, of course, mistake the fact that we have had to compete also as some kind of problem. What's the problem? Muhammad Ali, next sparring partner, Larry Holmes. So, and you'll be sparrer. Now you're actually helping him to become a better boxer.
Fantastic, yeah.
You see, the fact that you compete against somebody, actually a talent, and there was a problem with him. You're actually helping him. Now, if you move to faster than ever before, you send Bolt. Go to Ghana, only competitors are. Until we break world records.
Never.
Bolt cannot break world records if he has no competitor.
Fantastic.
You see, competition is healthy. Businessmen, they compete. Who says who say now a club? Obisun is this now ba. As will be a bar. Obisun is a bar. Radio stations will compete, and that helps all of them to get better. You see, competition actually helps and improves performance in every sphere of life. It's bank of funds through the onion contest. No. We are all in the same party. He's my presidential candidate right now. I held a press conference to support him, and we will support him until he becomes president. Anyway, you see, the leadership assembly on the Africa. You see. At least, Kwame Bidakuna Unya Demajun there, Uncle outside of Ghana Krapo. Nonke Fa Arikana Kwao, for example, former AU ambassador to the United States, who's a good friend as well. And now, Professor Lumumba, Ubia what's Nenka, for all kinds of comments and very nice oratory and speeches. Now Peter Ubia, so lose the election recently when Nigerian. On front plus other people now when you Ghana from Mekasa. Also, see, I was very surprised that they managed to close down the whole operation. But it's an embarrassment because Nigerian of Obi can go back to his country and they'll ask him what happened there. Whatever he says is an embarrassment. Ayukano Kwao has so many contacts all over the world. Whether she wants to go to Zimbabwe, her original country, or she wants to go to the United States where she lives right now, or she wants to talk in London, it will be an embarrassment. You see, these are things that Ibia, police in Ibia, and also Ibia, or Che Bibi, recommend the president who Bibi, but obviously they will not take such a decision without hearing from the top of the ladder. Also, you just stop the whole event, scatter them. A coward of war. They should go to court and try and recover it. But court now, why Bibi that way? Not everybody can be sure of getting outcomes in court because the courts are part of the problem. In Ghana, we also see that unemployment, deep unemployment, 30-40% unemployment. In here, 3-5% as a
Is it not threat to,
national security? Yes. Yes. It's a threat to national security. We have a high level of unemployment. Yeah. South Africa has a very, very high level of unemployment. And so they know that there's a threat to national security and they are fighting hard to do something about it. And my little contribution to solving the unemployment problem is Africa Business Center for Development Education, ABCDE, which for more than 10, 12 years now, I've been trying to, encourage young people to look for other alternatives to unemployment in terms of preparing better for the world of work and organizing workshops and seminars and events. We go to secondary schools and other places and universities and talk to them about their occupational options. Because it may be a whole bit, but as a farmer, you'll be surprised that I have opportunities for farmers today in my farm. I can't get workers.
Wow.
I can't get farm workers. Farm workers are on cow every month. Now, we are at the same time. In the better boy will be now so better. See, and almost all the businessmen in Ghana, it be on what are the main problems in business. This is one of the things they'll tell you that there's too much thievery and pilfering around the country. Now, say, Ubia or ordinary citizen, or the ministers of state and other senior officials will be in various ways. That's what is the example I said. Grabbing. In the airport customers now, so-called fancy areas, there's a whole lot of land grabbing over there. People have written about it. People have written at length, but it looks as if the system doesn't want to listen. You see, it's only when you have a change of government and then you have a whole change of people here and there and proper investigations take place, then you may have some relief. But at the time now, the whole country has lost 1 whole year, 2 years, 3 years. Oh, and it's very expensive for a country to lose time. Because time is one of the, as a child, the same 24 hours a day.
Good.
Benefit almost equally. The same 24 hours a day. Obi more hours than Obi. In how you use your time, what outcomes you can get.
Very well. Dear the leader Bekasa, say you be holding on to power. I will hand over to
another person,
another MPP person who break the 8. Kasana the same. Nyame mem obibia mem advance kasa.
Ombwa insi honor Council of Peace. Not Peace Council.
Peace Council, yeah.
Now, so far, what was so many Christian Council and Catholic Bishops Conference and all these people. But unfortunately, that one, it's a national cathedral project.
Fantastic.
Oman Pejin President Agasana also da Okro Israel Okebuncha na Oyedema also Nyami Ohono. Ohona Obeya Ozi and the same day Nyami Akachen there. Unsi cathedral bi nsi dem asofo mpeyifo nyina won bra na unsi cathedral
ana ka ho no
So why buy Azar Operoyen? In fact, he has succeeded in a certain way.
Yeah, but
but he has created one of the most interesting national tourist attractions. Or the biggest manhole in Ghana or in Africa.
National Cathedral.
National Cathedral hole one other one. It can be converted into a tourist attraction.
Wow.
And $5, $10. Yes, 10 cedis, $5. I can create that. I know how to create that. If I were to be given a certain... I won't give you a name now. But branding was maybe something. How shall we brand that hole? I'm saying a simple one is biggest hole in Ghana. It's just a name.
Biggest hole?
The biggest hole in Ghana. But you can brand it different names. You see, I'm not going to pretend that.
One is big. One is biggest hole.
Oh, a president now. Oh yeah. Nanado president. Or say Orusi National Cathedral. Oh, yanka the Monsi. No, nya Asofosoma also supported the Onsi. Now, offer government, even though he had promised that it will not use government funds. Before we knew, half a government sika. Now we'll vote. As far as I know, about $60 million has gone into investing into the biggest hole in Ghana. All you find there is a big hole. It's very unusual. You see, I'm saying that it'll become the only way to convert it into a money-making opportunity. And
the leadership we have
is to charge a fee for those who are coming from Zimbabwe and Mozambique and Cairo, Burkina Faso, who have heard this thing. If you advertise it on CNN, the biggest hole in Africa that was never built, you create a whole story about it. I mean, I've been trained in those arts of communication and suggesting and selling. So we can convert it into something that will earn at least some money when we are not earning money. Just like the toll booths are or cancelling. Now, nobody was complaining about toll booths
at all. I
mean, Obiang complained that you hear toll booths. You see, even if you're not getting too much money in it, then you're 40 million is what I heard at one time from toll booths. Why do you forgo them 40 million? Because it can help to build a school here, it can help to build pipe-borne water there, it can help. Nobody's complaining. So for 2 years or more, you have made the country lose. So people now were charging with causing financial loss to the state. But another minister, another president, another prime minister. You see, but that policy of not charging tolls is causing financial loss to the state. And there are many other things happening, many things. There are over 100 cases that are piling up against the NPP, which will be taken on after they've left office. It's the leadership of Africa, leadership of Ghana, which is the subject matter. People were trying to offer some kind of leadership. I don't know whether Bediako intends to form a political party, a movement, whatever it is. But to prevent him from speaking and sharing his opinion, it doesn't help to build them democracy na YPD. You're building. Or you can be nam kebi. Kebi nam kebi. Yawa he mkebi. Me obiso ba no so obekebi. Opinion. I'm that fine. But the leadership of Africa and Ghana will not survive if we don't allow some measure of freedom of expression. And that is the problem.
The current leadership,
well, no, I mean, as I was so, or a fear of exposure. And I don't think the conference at the Independence Square was going to expose anybody except to other, imperialistic issues. You see, people will say that the forces of imperialism, whoever they are, and forces against Nkrumahism are the ones who may have conspired to shut down the operation of that Pan-Africanist agenda, because Nkrumah was a Pan-Africanist. And so when he comes, those who follow him will maybe talk about African collaboration.
Fantastic.
But on the same part of Pan-Africanism is why we constructed the 12 plus story Africa Trade House, which houses the African Export, the Ghana Export Import Bank, and the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, not far from the National Theatre, near the British Council, almost opposite City House. And I can tell you I had the privilege of being the minister who saw to the construction of that project, from ground up, underground, to 12 stories, without any corruption taking place, any stealing of money. So people that can build it, these things can happen. I'm saying Ghana.
The current leadership.
Why you been yaw there? Yeah, there, only when chance when we are, even so, we'll feel them anyway. They will, them not Ghana obey a pass and Sanchez, also, yes, but I don't think that's the way to go. We should not be following the West examples.
Abak, leadership we need. Or any baby. Yeah, the kind of leadership we have. Amon said the West under the Fourth Republic. And under the Fourth Republic, Rawlings, President Kufuor, President Mills, President Mahama, under the Fourth Republic, the West, administration way. So I say, Oma say bibia, yen security, yen education, yen bibia, Oma aseno. Say leadership we need. Over to you, Dr. Cosby Gabra.
Well, leadership we need. Yeah, but start with President Mahama. Nimpa why leader da, why president so da. Na we lose election. Na our man who do in so say multi-bia or man who beto abama na obesana abano wabetua ne juma do. Isn't a yimu be say GM to aso. But meka GM no hasama. We start with Ministry of Communication, but I'm catch them. Now,
fantastic. No, you're deputy.
I'm a deputy. Now, so, but me them ejumani we no. Me call Minister of Education. No, be Minister of
Substantive Minister
Communication.
Fantastic.
Is some me catch show about Mankasan. Or the same as some me too catch about Mahama. Or the frequencies na ugu hona mija wa hona. Obobo ho banan. So no so piajo was a bear 10, 20 or special ko to go.
Yeah, no be discuss me.
And say our radio station owner or your biggest radio station owner wa Ghana ha.
Your mama no.
Your mama, why not? Because that's frequency no. Or aza otum ofebi. Obitum wa telecommunications, guru. So piesika or piede we sika. Until you could have done plenty of it. And you pay me you might say so be to man testimonial there. Na because nkwafa we to ma when you juma before where any pay phone. When you Professor Mills, Oko baby. Na Ron so Wako baby. So be between my president, Mama, na some papa. Me as a former supervisor of his work, and then a former colleague of his within the same cabinet, and then later on as his subordinate. It's manina at all the three levels of any employer. It's at all the three levels. It's with my I can want some.
It's a no. We boss.
Correct.
And the bedroom
equal.
So capacity level.
At the cabinet level. Now minister.
Fantastic.
See, we know each other very, very well.
Fantastic.
And I can also speak for him there. Because those things were available. Now because I'm amphibian. Now you don't know amphibian. Because amphibian you know by now. Long ago. And see from then party headquarters.
Good.
Also, you want some of them for your CCI or Bia Bonabadon. I'm assuming them Ejumani.
When they say
national headquarters, yes, for 2 years. Time when you lose election, will be Ugungwan fee NDC. Now Ugungwan fee a Ghana in 2001. Very tough time. As the party headquarters, as in those different press secretary, it's your director of communications. But Mama so by the Midman Subio after I left.
Oh, okay.
Mama so by the director of communication at the party headquarters. In addition to being a member of parliament.
Wow.
You see, why a member of parliament for so many years? Now, why a minister for so many years? So, you watching the Mama is not interested in wealth clean. Or you're interested in wealth acquisition. That's why Nkrumah is so. In Nkrumah, in case you never care about Nkrumah, no Papa Nkrumah Yejuma as a minister in the Nkrumah government. You see, them Nkrumahism ideas no be. You see, there's no reason for him to be interested in stealing anything that doesn't belong. Also, I was saying, Mama or in Dan castles or Dubai and so false, completely false. In say be na NDC na be deny enough young man. If na cover you other na be now because if you not know him some chrono. But the truth is that I'm pretty if car support who use both as a president and since the president they are Toyota Avensis. They are moderate cars. Even though for long journeys or Land Cruisers, yes.
Yeah.
But NPP for our power, Mercedes Benz now we use now, other Lexus Numnazi, even while they are using us. Yeah, as ministers,
Okay.
Volkswagen, Passat, no so Volkswagen, Passat, no so the leaders we need. We had Volkswagen, Passat. That was what we took away as ministers. No. Look, I went and lived in my father's house for 10 years in a 2-bedroom house. 2-bedroom house. My visitors were Bible home. They couldn't believe that this is where I was living. But I'd been a minister where I could have built, Minister of Education, Minister of Education. Then you contracts are to me, I had so many, I awarded so many contracts to people, and I could have built so many houses for myself, at least 10 houses if I wanted. That was my style. A cabinet meeting, Rollins Obama, Minister of Mines and Energy. Mines and Energy, the two portfolios together. You can find it there. But that was not the motivation. It doesn't even cross your mind. Because I learned as a young man
wanted to serve
that a good name is better than riches.
Fantastic.
Very simple words. A good name is better than riches. You see, my uncle Jenna Smith, who would say, a Muslim, very simple style.
Yeah.
Queen Elizabeth, who say, TV do. The last message from the Archbishop of Canterbury, Elizabeth, go down to thy maker. One book Queen Elizabeth. No medals na no Jew and ya if nobody. When na uncle, he said uncle, friend.
That be your Buckingham Palace.
No, uncle. After the afterlife, no Mercedes Benz na Land Cruiser also call. You can't take them there. So when you learn those things as a young person, it governs you. It's the leadership we want are people who are rooted in values. Well, if you're answer, now what it's on ye, Papa so. So they are not there to steal the money of the people. You know, a good name in man, dear my Lord, is the immediate jewel of their soul. He who steals my purse steals trash. It was mine and it is his, and is being a slave to thousands. But he who filches from me my good name robs me of that which does not enrich him, but makes me poor indeed. I learned it when I was 12 years old. You see, as some of them now, is that two streamer. Now you can recite it at any time. It means these are the principles by which you govern your life. How many people, after being ministers, now I went to work with Archbishop Duncan Williams.
Good.
At first as a chief of staff, and later on as a chief executive officer. After I'd been to the Commonwealth Telecom Organization,
good,
as the first African chief executive of the Commonwealth in 100 years. You see, and after that work, earning a lot of dollars, I was able to come back to Action Chapel to work in the same position, but as a chief executive officer with Duncan Williams again. You see,
still I'm on time, you're fine.
Why not? I mean, he's my pastor, he's my archbishop, he's my spiritual leader. Wow. You see, we have excellent relationships.
Good.
But the leadership we need are leaders like Duncan Williams himself, who sacrificed as a young boy, was walking up and down the roads from Accra to, Kaneshie to his church, walking, in those days, walking, before he managed to get a small land, near the airport area. He built his church from the word up, the ground up. Even when I joined the church as a minister, the rain was falling inside the church room. It was a church in tents. Tents. I saw room. Ogu church room. This is now, I win him history. What there is a big cathedral and so forth. The man at church and all the time. No, it wasn't like that all the time. But so I'm saying that President Mahama has demonstrated the kind of resilience and also the capacity in terms of managing the country's economy.
Capacity,
very, very important.
Fantastic.
And nobody knows everything, but being able to select the right team around you, the right people around you who are also honest. I mean, there'll be a little bit of misbehavior once in a while in any team, in any organization. But by and large, those who serve the NDC, they serve the country faithfully. They served it with a good conscience, and very little has been found against them for what happened. The mistake of the NDC under President Mills was the fact that we failed to or declined to prosecute the MPP guys who had worked with Kufuor. That's what MP4. I am no what I am impression there. When you on crap with your office and Kufuor in against them. No, but they were lucky that they had a so-called father for all figure.
But this time around.
Oh no. And some as a Bonawayan, Obian to French. You see, the President Mahama is going to come back, and we hope that he will continue to practice good governance, infrastructure development. I don't think there's any competition in terms of all the presidents we've had.
Under the Fourth Republic.
Under the Fourth Republic, President Mahama has been the biggest infrastructure developer. So if you're asking for the kinds of leaders we need are leaders who will take of the infrastructure of the country, the roads, the highways, the school system, the hospitals. We went to, only yesterday night, I had to go and visit a very good friend at the UGMC, University of Ghana Medical Center.
Yeah.
Fantastic hospital. I mean, no doctor or nurse or a visitor goes there and say, what, is this in Ghana? And this government almost didn't want to commission it or open it just because it was not built by themselves. But give it a chance, they are not able to build regional hospitals, standard, very prominent hospitals. The Agenda 111, almost all the hospitals are under construction. Always under construction. Always under construction, never to be commissioned. And now we are in debt. Until when are these Agenda 111 hospitals going to be commissioned? At least Mahama e-schools, they were commissioned a whole lot of them. They commissioned a whole lot of them. Over 100 of them were built, and at least 80 or something were commissioned before we left office.
They promised to build 350.
Well,
the current administration.
I know, but they didn't do this. They didn't do that. And then in the hospital sector, they said they're going to do this. So many promises. Kufuor started with, we shall build railway line from Accra to Burkina Faso. And our current vice president, who the MPP have made the flag bearer, promised Cape Coast people, what did he promise them? Airport.
Yeah.
Cape Coast, airport. I mean, if you Cape Coast, airport to Infa. Airport, they promise all kinds of things. Why make people promises that you can? And he's the one who is making all these economic and financial projections about the interest rates and, the exchange rate will expose you. The fundamentals are weak. Expose you, expose you. And this exchange has exposed them for the whole of the last so many years. To the point where we started at so many per CD, and we are now at 12 CDs for one and all that. I mean, Ekabo. A businessman bia obekacho. Boka. Chawa, can you Japan obekacho one? And I who belong to them useless party. But anyway, onto another story. You see, the leadership we
useless
need.
Party.
I think that's one of the things that Japan says. Yeah. I don't know why I belong to that useless party or something along those lines. But anyway, when he's angry, he says all kinds of things, against his own party. But NDC, they are leaders and they are good people in NDC and good people in Ghana in general. It's a matter of how to attract them, to let them know that you don't have to be a corrupt person or an evil person to survive in Ghana. This is the problem in Ghana right now.
So NDC, you have the men?
NDC has the men and women of all levels. But the issue is that MPP has tried to make corruption attractive to the youth. And so many of them are attracted to quick money because everybody wants to be a Range Rover and a Land Cruiser and a fine car and sit in East Legon and dine in restaurants here, in Somunam restaurant, etc. So that's what is attracting people to try and get fast money and a fast life. But the world is not about too much speed. Some speed is necessary, but do things that are correct, that are moral and ethical. That your name, at the end of the day, is the name that I hope people will protect and build on. I was fortunate to have a grandfather and a father. Over 100 years, they helped to build Ghana in their own little ways. And I'm basically benefiting from that.
And your name will always open doors for your children.
By God's grace.
Future generations.
By God's grace. Not everybody is taught that as a child. So if you don't have the moral compass, as it were, how to apply themselves to the rules of the earth, and they can be tempted by the wrong, inducements in the wrong way. But we need better leadership in Ghana, and the leadership that we have now is bankrupt, corrupt, and impoverishing all of us. We can see how bad leaders have a negative impact on the economy and on the global system. Because if you go to the IMF, basically, Ghana has become a laughing stock. The colleagues I used to work at the World Bank. I used to work at the African Development Bank. And so the colleagues that I have, I know how they deal, how they talk. If you go to the World Bank dining room, they'll be laughing at, oh, this country, are you working for Ghana? That's another staff member. You work on the Ghana account. That you work on the Ghana team. Oh, yeah, that country is bankrupt. What's going on there? That's what they're going to say. Oh, well, minister is not doing this. It's embarrassing. But you won't know it if you're still in Ghana.
The Ghana,
oh, yes. I mean, they know what Ghana could become. That's the problem. The contrast between what Ghana's potential is,
projections,
what we could have done,
2017, 2019,
the claims that we can do this, and the things that they're not able to do. The worst thing that happened to Ghana was the decision by the finance minister to take out of the statutory funds almost 70% of all the money coming into the government accounts. Ghana Education Trust Fund, I went and sweated to create it, and they have come to bankrupt it and pledge it to a Chinese money, so that we can't really get the full benefit of that get fund. So NDC is a party that builds, and MPP is the party that destroys. That's as simple as that. For those who are trying to understand it, they're destroyers.
Nation reckless.
Nation reckless.
That's it.
Live on TVXYZ and also on Power 97.9 FM. Say and I will feel your first show on Inside Politics, and at the 9th of January 2024. Do na ne baba wakwem say see ani ahye dwumadi ne say 2024 ye be call elections leader ben na wo hia sisi a wo hia leader ono no obebo adwumadi ama wa ma abrabo asesa ana wo hia leader ono de wia no mo area ene leader hia sisi no eye leader obetumi attend things around I mean Mr. eye dog baby a na do ne bawomia ase wo man na kwa akodu no.
It's going to be a difficult task, but it's doable. He has no choice but to do it.
24-hour economy.
The 24-hour economy is one of the most innovative ideas of Odiaba. But we have Baumian criticism of 24-hour economy now. I say, I put it for me 24 hours. Not necessary. I be 24 hours. Now, well, nobody is saying that the 24-hour economy. There's no 24-hour economy anywhere in the world. No, there are. And tonight, based on the examples of other countries, yes, a similar thing can be expanded and developed in Ghana. Ghana, there were, little examples of 24-hour economies, or economies that are 20 hours or more than 16 hours. Ibini Abekana Pass, and also after some time, you can see people doing work with lights and lanterns well into the night, into the early morning. Okay, about Usu in Winchen here, Usu night market. Yeah. The people are buying and selling. But the idea is to expand that concept throughout the whole economy so that you look for more than 20 different industries which can operate at night, and construction that can operate at night, and pharmacies that can operate at night. Echo Cote d'Ivoire here, where I live, Abidjan, as a African banker. They have what they call pharmacie de garde. That is a pharmacy that has been selected among all the pharmacies that in this neighborhood, it will be a 24-hour pharmacy, but only that neighborhood. Sometimes they even vary the neighborhood. You see, if you go to East Legon, there'll be 2 or 3 pharmacie de garde, and they'll be advertised in the newspapers and radio stations. So people know that if you fall ill or you need some emergency medicine, go to these 3 places. If we, Abosokai, where spare parts dealers are, who all close by 6, 7 o'clock because it's dark and they need transport home. If you introduce a 24-hour economy there, yes, exactly. You just select, you ask them themselves, the car manufacturers and sellers, one can someone select a company which will open 24 hours in this area.
Passport office.
Car dealers. Now, one more motor engine, so selecting 1 or 2 of you who will do that. So and so and so. And just all of them do have to work 24 hours. We start with a select group, a pilot group. That will be 10 companies that are working 24 hours. And people will be directed there. The lights will be shining there. They have security. They have emergency transportation and all that, which is working. And then people will go to that area. Once people see that, 24-hour economy can work in this area, the multiplication will become easier. Swami. That is as simple as that. And then factories, I used to be in charge of most of the industries in Ghana, trade, Ghana has free zones, Authority.
Yeah.
You go to the place and some factories work 16 hours, 18 hours. You know, even a fish processing company like Panya Food Company has been working 24 hours in most cycles when there's power. Valco used to work 16 hours, 18 hours or more when power is available and electricity is also cheap. So there have been pockets of 24-hour economies in Ghana. But as the mama is saying, that he will grow all those companies, expand all of them, and put in the regulations and the infrastructure.
Is it possible?
Why is it not possible? It's happening in other countries anyway. So you know that something new. No. Mama can say, they are doing it in many countries, in some places in Mexico, some places in Argentina, some places in the United States. But we ever share the best examples of the 24-hour economies around the world and bring them to Ghana so that Ghana, especially Makola area, you do an askata because are dark, then there are no lights. So there are things you have to put in place. You have to fix the lights, you have to fix the security, you have to fix the dustbin collection. But construction at night, most countries, for example, almost all the construction work is done at night. So they don't interfere with road networks while people are driving to work. So you freeze the daytime working and you do the night working. Sometimes that affects the budget or the cost because you may have to pay a little bit more. But the work also moves faster. If the road is built, flyover, because one more year overnight work.
Very well.